Game you were very high on coming into the season, and then we downgraded it. Oregon, Texas Tech. Oregon survives there. Will's got to be happy about that. Chris,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on Oregon, Texas Tech?
This was a good football game. Texas Tech, give them credit, bouncing back from that loss, embarrassing loss, in my opinion, to Wyoming in double overtime last week. Oregon, team that I'm really high on this year. You know what? The big thing in this game was the fourth quarter. Oregon outscored Texas Tech 20-3 in the fourth to close this one out. This one was looking like an upset written all over it. Bo Nix did what Bo Nix does, 32 of 44, Christian, 360 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. He was also their leading rusher. So I got a little questions on Oregon's offense running the football. Oregon's got a lot of good players on that football team. I know Bo Nix can run the football, but I don't like when your quarterback's always your leading rusher. Tyler Schlau, however you want to say his name, the ex-Oregon quarterback who was there for 2 years, 24 for 38, 282, 3 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. And they were costly interceptions if you're the Texas Tech man. Crazy stat here, Christian. We talked about it. 23 carries for 101 yards and a touchdown. Holy shit. Did you have anybody else on offense if you're Tech? I mean, you got to have a few other players, man. 101 yards rushing for a quarterback. I didn't think that he's a good athlete, but I don't think you want your quarterback running 23 times. Crazy. Texas Tech, 0-2 now. First time since 1990. Thought that was kind of a crazy stat. Tech I was very high on. I'll admit it. I had them as a dark horse in the Big 12 this year. I am completely wrong. Tech played a lot better in this game. Don't get me wrong. If they would have played like that last week, they would have blew out Wyoming. Oregon in this game, though, another question for you, Will, probably 14 penalties for 130 yards. You guys got to get that cleaned up going forward, especially in the Pac-12 where there's a lot of good teams over there, Christian. You know that. Sloppy game a little bit in that way, but I give credit. I know Lubbock is a tough place to play. Give credit to Oregon in the fourth quarter. And Dan Lanning, they kind of pulled their heads out of their asses there and got it done barely, 38-30. Christian, you want to add anything onto that?
Yeah, I'll just say this. I mean, looking at the box score here, I mean, it's one of those things where Oregon, they came out, I don't want to say flat, but they just, they showed why Texas Tech is not an easy place to come into. They needed 20 points in the fourth quarter to come back and kind of take this one. I mean, it was very scary. I know we were covering some other games while this one was going on. But yeah, it was one of those games where if you're an Oregon fan, I mean, sometimes you just got to survive. That's all you got to do. You just got to survive. You just got to hang in there. And you make it to next week, and that's all you got to do, especially in this Pac-12. I mean, especially the stuff that you look at Oregon and what we think Oregon can be. They're a very veteran-led team, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, and Dan Lanning, second-year coach. I mean, obviously we're really high on Oregon and what they can be. Texas Tech doing Texas Tech things. They're coming out losing to Wyoming. And then they play up to what we thought was going to be a blowout in Oregon, and they actually led for most of that game, and then kind of got pulled away there. So yeah, man, very very interesting. I felt as if with the whole Texas Tech Oregon game.